Okay, so we are going to see this actually we are looking at this material. So this particular material here, just to get so basically, when this is the material we've been looking at. So the our lecturer actually took us to this level. This is where he stopped. This is where he stopped. This is what he was talking about. So he stopped here. You get. So, and I don't think because this is actually the first part, like, the course, the materials in module. So, this is actually the module one of the course material. You get. So, this study one of it. So, he actually finished study one already. So, but then he just stopped at the data, uh, sources of data, and that is where we stop at this point. You understand? So, we just to round off the whole study. Session, which is study session one, just round up the whole thing. And then that is why we have, so I have done a very simple work on that so we can have a good explanation of it. So we just do a recap of where we stopped the last time. All right, so that's where we have the data sources. So we have two data types. We have two data sources, and the first one is primary data source and the secondary data source. So it's a comparison here. So you can see that uh, here basically we are going to understand the origin of data. Get so we look at the primary data source here is, like I said, the last class you said this is where you get data at first hand, the fresh data you get from your project or whatever you want to do. Now, this the method of collecting such data, that is primary data, you get surveys, interviews, questionnaires, observations, and experiments. You understand with a practical example that is shown here. So let's say assuming that UBA Bank want know to to know why customers are leaving their mobile app. So the research team will design a survey and visit 100 customers to ask them questions. That that is primary data source because it is collected directly from the specific purpose. So we now have another part which is the secondary data source. So these are actually existed data collected by someone else, but used for your research. But you now you go to get this data to use it for your own research. For your own research. So you can see those data can come from textbook, journal, CPN report, company record, magazine, website, and all that. So assuming that the same UBA bank research team want to the research team of the bank want to analyze the banking history trend for 2020 to 2025. So instead of going to customers, they use CBN annual financial report and MBS data set. That is secondary data source. So because it is already existed data somewhere, so they just go there and get the data and then they use the data to do their report. Do you understand? So that is just the two difference between the two data sources. So to continue from there, we have now we're looking at in that same study session, we have types of data. We have types of data just like this. And you see we have types of data, which is 2.7. If you are reading this material, you see there are types of data. So we in this tutorial we're actually trying to simplify everything so that everybody can understand with practical examples that will help you to picture the whole thing in real life. So we have the quantitative data, right? So these are data you can measure or count in numbers. You understand? These are data that you can count or measure in numbers. So, and they have like kind of two types. Qualitative data have two types. We have the continuous data and the discrete data. So when we're talking about continuous data, we're talking about values that can take any number, including decimal point. Just like example, customers account balance. Can you say? So this is a continuous data, right? So we have the weight of goods, this, and the time taken to serve a customer, 5.6 minutes. So these are all measured, not counted. Can you see? All these things are measured. So this is measured in naira, this is measured in kg, this is measured in minutes. You understand? They have a unit of measurement. So we also have the same quantitative data where we have the descriptive data. These are values. The values are whole numbers, usually counted. For instance, the number of customers entering UBA daily. So here now, the values are not continuous because they are discrete. So if I'm counting it, they have to be. So we cannot have two and a half in this group. We can't have that because I can't say I have two and a half people. That means you are talking about, let's say you are counting tall people and short person, because I can't say I have four and a half people in a place. Everybody. So if this is discrete, they are not continuous. So that's what it means. So these are numbers of customers entering UBA daily. We have 50s, 70s, 85. We can have 75 points. You don't have decimal point here. So we also have number of loan application approved in a day. You can't have one and half. You understand? The one that you are saying is half, that means that one has not been approved, it's still in progress. So we cannot say it's part of the loan approved. So the number of 18 working in the branch, you can't have less than that. So you can't have 2.5 customers or 3.5 ATM. That is why they are discrete numbers. Do you get? So that's basically the two types. That is under the quantitative data now. So we move to qualitative data. You understand? Remember the qualitative data, these are the types of data. You understand? So the qualitative data are types of data. The type of data source are primary and secondary data source. So now we are looking at types of data. We have qualitative and quantitative. So the qualitative data, it describes qualities, attributes, or categories instead of numbers. And then in this one now, they have two types. Again, so here we have the nominal data and the ordinal data, or can call it the ranking, how to rank something. So in this aspect, you can have, so what I'm saying, I'm telling you here is what the same thing we have here, but here it's more of, it's very, it's not way. Can you see? It's the same thing that I'm saying, right? So if you read smart there and now you understand that, yeah, I'm actually. So we have the nominal data. So these data classify things without any order. So it can come in any order, like there's no order of precedence. It's not like this one must come before this one. Do you get? So I can have male, female, they can just mix all that. But as long as I have the number of people I'm looking for, I'm good. So that's what we have. What we have in here, we have the nominal data, which this classify things without any order. So we have example, gender, we have female, male, marital status, single or married. Either single can come in first, whatever. Or we can have branches, bank branches and all that. So we can label and count them but not rank them. To get now. So on the ordinal data here, this involve ranking or ordering things, how to order some stuff. So for instance, customer satisfaction. We look at the high, the middle, and the low. So there's actually a number that can tell, we can say, okay, a customer that give us, let's say, from 5 to 4 is high, and then 3 to 4 is middle, and then 3 to 2 is low. We have ranked the whole thing. You get? So, or we can say the employee performance, we can have excellent, good, average, and poor. Then we have student score, we have the first, second, and third. These are ordered, what kind of, this is type of qualitative data, right? So we have the ordinal and the nominal data. The ordinal, you can also call it rank. So it just about ranking your data. Okay? Are we together? Are we following?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we now have some key statistical concepts that are very important for us. So we have we have data, right? We have data is just information collected for study. So example, number of customers at UBA this month, right? So we have variables. Variables are any characteristic that can change. So variables are just like a container. You know, when you have a container is variable is just like a container you have. Yeah. So I can have a container where I keep mango inside. I can decide to take mango from the container. The container still remain the same. So that is actually a variable, right? So variables are just any characteristic that can be changed. I can decide to change. So we have age. So like for instance, my age this year is not going to be the same with my age next year. You get your salary this year, tomorrow now they might increase your salary. So it's the same salary, but the name of the salary still remain, but the value inside has changed. Your account type now, you can decide to upgrade your account to a current account when you are using a savings account. Do you understand? So these are just key things you need to understand in statistics. So you understand data and information you collected for study. You understand example number of new customers at UBA Bank this month, and then we look at dependent variables. These are the outcome being studied. So these are the outcome that we are looking at. For instance, let's I have if you know the formula for regression line, something like this. I have something like this. So if we are looking at dependent variables, so let's assume we have something like A is equals to A um, plus bx. Do you get? So this is x. X is a dependent. So this y here, this y is depending on whatever x given. So x is an independent variable. X is not depending on y, but y depend on x. So let's say we are looking at the impact. So this we are looking at how the impact of sleeping early. How does you sleeping early affect your score? So this y could be your score in school, right? Then this x is the hours you sleep. So you can see your hours you sleep does not depend on this y, but your scores, that is your performance in school, is depending on how many hours you sleep. So that is why that's what I mean by this thing. So we have dependent variables, which are the outcome being studied, just like customer satisfaction depend on service speed. You get? So we have independent variable, which is X. So the factor influencing the outcome, which is what we are talking about here. So we can look at the service speed, the employee training. So we can look at the quantitative variable measured with numbers, salary, profit, age. Qualitative variable, descriptive, non-numerical, gender, department, color. And then we have discrete value, whole numbers, counts, number of branches, number of what customers. We have continuous data, which is can have decimals, wait time. We can have wait time and income, right? So we have distribution, how data is spread or arranged, salary distribution of staff. So all these things are just things you need to. They are just basic items you need to understand statistics. So you have sample. Sample is a small group taken from the population, just like you are taking 200 customers selected from the UBA plan. But that means they have more other customers, but they have selected those 200 to just make some calculation. So if you look at it, let's assume that the whole customers that the bank has, they have about 2 million customers. So that means that is their population. So, but then inside the population, we are taking a sample from it, which is 200 from the 2 million. Do you understand? So we have the random sample. That is every item has equal chance of being selected. I think, by the next module we are going to look at sampling. That is, I think, is part of it. So we look at the parameters. We look at statistics. So I will send this particular sheet to you guys. You guys can download it if you want to use it. So, so we also have the practical summary of the whole thing. Now, the practical summary is statistics in business. So, like I said, we are following this guy. Can you see? So, this way, the things I just explained to you, these are the key statistical concept: data, variables, dependent variable, independent variable, quantitative, all those things that are here. You understand? So, I just made it to be simple for us to understand. So, this is the summary, right? This summary here is what I'm going to talk about now. So we have the statistics in business. We're looking at business statistics help managers to make data-driven decisions rather than depending on guesswork. So what's decisions like what? Forecasting deposit. So let's say assuming the UBA bank can forecast future deposit using past data, quantitative and qualitative and continuous data, or a HR department trying to evaluate HR performance. So the HR department can evaluate the employee performance levels. You understand? So this is qualitative data. It's going to be ranked. Do you get? So we can also improve our marketing strategy. So the marketing team can actually use survey as a primary data source and CBN report secondary data to improve their service. Do you get? So you can see how statistics being used in so many ways. This is just simple example. And then, so if you go back to this, there are some questions that are here, self-assessment questions. So these are self-assessment questions that I want us to look at them too, right? So they say you should compare and contrast the definition of statistics given by this guy, this and this and this. You understand? So what are the rationale behind taking into consideration data source and types before making decision? So I have done that. So this person said that statistics are, he actually looked at statistics in this way. He says statistics are numerical statement of facts collected and arranged systematically for comparison. So he emphasizes more on numerical fact and systematic word collection. So but this other guy said that statistics deals with collection, analysis, and interpretation of numerical data. So this guy, he focused more on the process. You understand? He focused more on where the analysis or where the statistics start from. So he focused he's looking at statistics as a process of collecting data, analyzing it, and interpreting it. So they're actually saying the same thing, but they are actually having different kind of uh, knowledge about the whole thing. So this one said that statistics are numerical data collected and classified for a purpose. So he more focused more on classification and purpose. You understand? So all the three statistics are dealing with numerical data, but they emphasize different parts. So this. So you can see it here. So you can actually browse that. I need to have browsed those answers to just show you. I browse them. I check on the internet. So we have question number two says, what are the rationale behind taking into consideration data source and types before before making statistical decision? First thing first, like I said before in our WhatsApp group, it's determine the you have to determine because now you're trying to consider a data source, right? You want to choose a data source for your report. So how do you choose a data source that is good for you to get? So you have to determine how reliable that data is, how reliable that the result of that, what that data is going to give you at the end of the day. So, for instance, the primary data source is more efficient. It's more specific. Secondary data is maybe updated. Do you understand? For instance, let's just imagine that you want to do a report. You want to research about the impact of social media on young people, right? So, and then you want to go and take data from way back 20, maybe you want to take data from 2000. Now, that data has been stored somewhere because you are not going back to 2000s now to go and get the data. But that means somebody collected that data in 2000 and keep it somewhere. Now, that data is updated already. Because if you are looking at the real impact of social media on young people, you have to get that from the young people currently now. So you can see, you look at how reliable that data is going to affect your result. You get now. So we also look at it guide the statistical method to use. It also guide the so e.g. continuous, mean, nominal, frequency. So from what happened here, for you to consider that, look at the methods that you're going to use. Each any of the method, like I said in previously, it determine what you're going to use that. So it helps you to interpret result correctly and it prevents errors or bias in analysis. Example, if UBA uses old data from 2015, which is data stored somewhere, or to make decision to make 2025 loan decision, the analysis might actually mislead their management because they may be getting wrong result. What they are getting may not actually give them good analysis because things have changed. You can't even compare 10K of 215 to 2K to 10K of 2025. So they have to use the current data. So the question number three was asking us, I want us to discuss about the significance of statistics. So if we are just looking at the importance of statistics, right? So number one is summarize. It helps you to summarize your large data, e.g., average monthly data. You want to calculate the average monthly sales or profit, and also it helps you to make comparisons between branches or departments, and also help you to forecast for the future. I think we have done this already in our previous tutorial. Look at So we look at to it can also help you to make decisions based on evidence, not assumptions. And it can also help you to evaluate performance, e.g., measuring the marketing campaign success. So the UBA uses customer transaction data to predict which service to expand to get. So this is statistic that is helping these people to do this job, right? So we look at the limitations that we already talked about. So these are questions we are trying to answer. What are the limitations of statistics? Number one, it says that they cannot measure feelings or emotions, right? So it deals with groups, not individuals, can be misled, can actually be misused. So wrong data collection or analysis give false result. So not 100% exact. Statistics are estimates, not precise truth. We have said this before, and it's not even the lecturer also talk about this. So it is not giving us the real truth. It's giving us estimated values. Just like a survey may show 90% of customer satisfaction, but that does not mean every customer is happy. You get now. So that doesn't mean every customer is happy, but it showed 95% based on the data they collected. You get. So we have some discuss the sources and types of statistics. So sources we are looking at primary data source collected directly from people, right? So we have the survey, experiment, simple. So I believe that by the way we are explaining this tonight, if you have a test or an exam to write, you can, in fact, it will be simple for you to do this because so just like example, UBA Bank want to know the customer satisfaction survey, they can just do that, and then the secondary data source is just already existing data. Very simple. You just know how to write about that. It's already existing data. Report, journals, books, example, CBN annual banking report. So we are looking at types of statistics. Summarize the data, which is the descriptive statistics is summarize the data in mean, charts, tables. The inferential statistic make predictions and general to and just conclusions, they're actually more conclusion using some statistical method like the correlation, regression, hypothesis testing, and all that. Do you get? So just wrap up summary. Statistics help businesses to collect data wisely, analyze information meaningfully, and also make informed decisions confidently. Whether it is customer service, marketing, finance, or HR, statistics turns their raw data into actionable insight. And that's all. So I have some, so from the previous class that we had, right, which is here, let me show you. So when our lecturer was talking about statistics, he talked about this. He actually explained descriptive statistics. What that means is like this is just like his own note, and he means he have explained everything because I have mentioned things that are not here. Do you understand in that lecture? So those things that he mentioned here that are not here, you will see them maybe in a test, in a quiz. And one of the things he talked about descriptive statistics, right? So and he said descriptive statistics talk about the uh we look at the that is where you do things like the mean, the mode, the median, and all that. Do you understand? So that is why I have to. If you go back to this material, you see that on top of it. So I have some key statistical measures. You understand? We are looking at central tendency and dispersion. It is actually very important when you're talking about business decision. So we are going to look at some of them like the mean and average. So now what is the mean? The mean is the sum of all data value divided by the total numbers. It shows the central and typical value in the data set. So the mean is basically the sum of all numbers divided by 10. So for instance, let's assume that let's say UBA Bank Zaria recorded the following daily record. So they have Monday this, Monday this. These are deposit people's money. You understand? So they want to know the mean, the average of deposit. So if they're going to add up all this data, this add up divide by five because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From Monday to Friday, that's 5 divided by 5, it will give you this one will give you 150 divided by 1 5 divided by 5 give you 300. So this will give you the mean value of what? what these people deposit every day. So what it means is like every day. And funnily enough, the mean is like, so this is giving us 300. So it means on average, these people get 300 every day on average. That does not mean it must be 300, but average they get 300 every day deposited to their bank from Monday to Friday. So that is what it means. So the interpretation of that is like on average, the Zaria branch receive 300,000. Okay, this is okay. This 300,000. I can see the 300,000 in deposit a day. So where to use it? Now, when do you actually apply the mean? Now, when the data are numerical and evenly distributed. Now, when you want the overall performance average, you can, let's say when you only want the overall performance average, you can use the average sales profit income. You understand? You can use the average of sales, average of profit, average of income, and then you'll be able to get that. So another one we look at the median. So this median is the middle value when data are arranged in order, right? Or the order can either be in ascending or descending order. So when you say descending order, that means it's starting from the highest to the lowest. But when you say ascending order, it's starting from small to the lowest. So either way you arrange it, you get your median. So it divides the data into two equal halves. That is 50 below and 50 above. So, an example that I will give it to. So, assuming that UBSR record the waiting time in minute for 7 customers. So they are looking at the waiting time for 7 customers, and the time is in minute. So that means this person, the first customer had about 2 minutes. He waited for 2 minutes. The next customer waited for three. Another customer waited 5 minutes. Another customer 10. Another customer 8. Another customer 10. Another customer 12 minutes. Do you understand? So since there are 7 observations, the middle value here is the fourth value. So I can say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So I can take 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. So this will give me the middle number, right? So I now have 7 as the middle number. So this is now become our median. So it's the middle value that we have. But in the case whereby this data is actually odd, like it's not, it's that this is odd. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Understand? So this is odd numbers. So they are like so. In case of where there is you have even numbers, right? When you have even numbers, you can pick the ones in the middle, the two of them divided by two. Then it will give us. So, but this one now we actually have middle number. If we come from behind, we have it. If we count from above, we still have it. So we now take the middle value. But let's say we counted here 1, 2, 3, and this side is just 2. So that means we are going to count only 1, 2, 1, 2, and add 5 plus 7, divide by 2. It will now give us the median. That's actually how it works. So the half of the customer waited less than 7 minutes, and half waited more than 7 minutes. That's actually what the system is telling you. Half of the data waited less than 7 minutes, and half of it waited over 7 minutes. Do you get now? Say half of it, which is 1, 2, 3 people waited for less than 7 minutes, and 1, 2, 3 waited for less above 7 minutes. So that is basically what that data is telling you. So where do you use the median? That is when there are outliers, that is extreme values. When values are so extreme, like there's a kind of, for instance, when you talk about outliers here, let's assume you have this. What is an outlier is a value that is so extreme. Let's just assume you are having like 300,000, and then this one place you are having like 3 million. Ah, the value is too extreme, so it's something you have to, you can actually make it so the median in that kind of scenario. So when the data when data are skewed, he mentioned this. Okay, this is supposed to actually come after this model one. I think I've seen that in the skill. This is the when the data is not evenly spread. I'll show that. I can actually show you that more on a diagram, like a diagram that looks like this, like looks a diagram that looks like something like this. Uh, I want to use. my my pen. A diagram that looks something like this. Say I have this, something that look like this. So when you have something like this, and let's say you have something like this, right? And so there's actually, so we can see, so when this is a normal distribution data. When you have a data, this is a normal distribution and diagram. You understand? So let's say you are giving this side 0.5 and you are giving this side 2. Ah, my pen is not working. 0.5. You get this side 2 0. So but the thing we can't, by the time we are doing the main like that particular module now, I will explain this better for you guys. So let's just continue with this one and just finish. So when when do you use the where do you use the media is common income, salary, house pricing and all that. For instance, if one bank staff, imagine that, okay, if sorry, can you see my screen? Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So let's assume that if one staff earns 5 million while others earn like 200K. Now 200K too. Okay, this now we are looking at.
Sorry, we can't see your screen. No.
I can see my screen. I
I
have
can't see your screen. No.
okay. Mm.
We can see now.
So if one UBA bank staff earn 5 million while others earn like 200K to 300K, the median salary gives a fair picture than the mean. Do you understand? Think I can spread that data into somewhere you can see. So we also have the mode. The mode is also one of the central tendency. So we have the mode. So this is the definition of this is the most frequent value in a data set, right? So we have the the value that occurs the most. That's just what it means. So it's very simple. So if you look at this data now, the mode here is basically 35. That's the answer. 35 is the answer. So this is we have 35 here, 35 here. So you don't really need to arrange this one in order. There's no order for you to arrange that. All you need to just check through and you see it. But then when you go to like more complex data or some stuff from like the next module that we're going to, you see that there's actually a formula to calculating it where you have data that have range. You know, when you're talking about data that have range, let's say you have a data that have intervals like from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, and like that. So when you have some data, this is a formula that you can use to calculate this. Do you understand? So we are not covering that for today. So the interpretation of this, you can see here the loan, here the loan and the personal loan and the education loan both occur 35 times. So it means that the most preferred loan types among UBA customers were personal and education loans. Simple. So you use this when you are dealing with categorical data, not numerical data. When it's useful in marketing, HR, customer preference analysis, and all that. So so that's just it. So we also have the last one that maybe I will talk about is going to be the standard deviation, right? So the standard deviation here it measures how your data actually spread out. You get, or it disperses the data values are from the mean. How dispersed the data are from the mean. So we can have a low standard deviation value are close to the mean. That is consistent performance. So if I have a standard deviation that is very close to my mean value, it means I have a consistent performance. But if I have a high standard deviation, that is the value that are very, very far away from my mean. It means my performance is not consistent. So assuming like I have so look at this, we have a mean of 300. And let's say if you do the standard deviation of this and we are going to get data that is very, very far from this, that means we are not consistent in our whatever our deposit or what income or all that. So for here now we have the formula for this is equals to this the square root of summation of x. So this is x minus x1. Now this is square it divided by n. So this x now, this is the mean. This one is the main value. So this is the mean. You understand? So this is the mean and this is your x. So the x is just the value of x. So for instance, we have this particular data set that we have here. So we have UBA want to analyze daily deposit of from two branches. So they have a branch. This is the Kaduna branch and Zara branch. So they have 300, 1,003. These are different branches with different days. So what this means is this particular brand deposit is close to 300, which is deposit deposit are close to 300, which has low consistent is 300. So this one deposit from 100 to 600. You understand? So it means it is high standard deviation unstable. So I didn't actually solve this in a formula because I was expecting to use my pen, but then I don't think this pen can serve me. I think it's dead. But I think my pen is dead. Let me just use this guy to clean this guy. Clean this guy. Expecting to use that to just solve that. But the pen is kind of low. So it's not going to write the way I expected it to do. But then, where was I? So what you see here is just a summary of everything that we have learned in the module study one session. So this is just a quick summary of everything I've said. So the mean is just the arithmetic average, numerical average daily deposit of this. That is to know the typical performance. And the median is a middle value. Numerical, this one it help you to when there are outliers or uneven data in your data set. You want to find that. So we have the mode, which is the most frequent value, right? So the mode we look at the loan type, the personal loan from the data we saw. So this is to identify the most common behavior of the data you get. So we look at the practical scenarios, right? So these are just this one is just a practical scenario. So we have example. This is salary of 250K. The median value is this, the standard deviation is this. So the company pays an average of 250K, but many employees earn less and pay is uneven. So you can see the mean is this 250K, but you can see the standard deviation is very far from this guy. So you can say that the company pays an average of 250K, but many employees earn less and the pay is uneven. So in the sales example, we can say the mode of product that is the most product sales is saving account. So most customers choose the savings account product line. So the performance example, this standard deviation in daily transaction is equals to low. So this is just a very simple thing. So I have some questions here, critical questions for us to solve. So I will send these questions to the group so that you guys can solve, and you guys can solve on your own and send it to. If you solve it maybe on the paper, you can snap it and send to the group too, or you can just to the our tutorial group. That's all. So any question that you have. So with this now we are done with this, so we are expecting a new lecture so we can continue from our study two. Yeah, so our study two we now continue with this, and all that. Because we agreed that we'll be doing our class, our tutor after the lecture. So I think he's going to start from the study two. So any question?
So please, are we getting this video
Yes.
on our tutorial group who we just concluded?
Yeah, the video will be on the YouTube channel.
All right, all right.
And
Thank you very
I
much.
will share the link for in the WhatsApp group so that you can see it.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for your time and thank you for putting this up. Really appreciate.
Okay. Welcome. Thank you. Okay. So that's all for today. So we are closing now.